Ultra Buddies. Durian here with the Mefilas deck. You saw me play this against Gonkun in our recent matches. It can be pretty strong, but also pretty inconsistent. A super fun deck. This was a contention for me to take to the World Championships, but I did feel like it was a little inconsistent. That being said, it is a super duper fun deck to play. It has a lot of tricks and a lot of funky ways to play. So we'll just get into it. I don't have the new fun setup with the card previews because there's so many cards in here. It would be kind of a pain. So let's get straight to it. We'll talk about the deck construction, and then we won't really talk about alternatives. I'll mention them briefly, but we can talk about a few plays and mulligan patterns as we go through things. It'll kind of be like one big jumble as we go. So let's get started with this. Is our bad boy Alien Mefilas, the triple rare level 6. So what this card does is you can reveal. So I'll move this for a bit. So of course, we're playing 4. It's the main namesake of the deck. So on double, what this card does is you can reveal a. Let's pretend we have one on the field. If you reveal a kaiju card with invasion or hazard type from your hand, so you say, oh, I got this. Then like if you have another guy here, you basically discard this card and put that new one into play and draw a card. So it allows you to play a lot of like really sneaky things, and it's super fun. It allows you to do a lot of setup, get things in discard, get through your deck because you're drawing a lot. So it's like this is definitely my favorite deck to play. Unfortunately, I couldn't quite figure out that perfect ratio to get it to play. So I'll hopefully be able to go to some Galaxy Cups and give this a chance. So let's talk about the rest of our Mefilas package. It is going to be bada bing, bada boom. I'll try to get a better zoom out here a little bit. So boom, boom, boom. So we're doing 6 level 1s because this only activates as a double. You got to get this one into play. And then we have level 7s. The level 7s, you just play them because of the scene. You don't usually want to level this up if you don't have to, but it is a very strong effect. So we've also got the scene. So the scene kind of ties things together. The level 5 is a draw 2, send 1 to the bottom of the deck. I wish it was a show 3, pick 1, and then discard the rest. That would help a lot, but it is what it is. So the scene is basically the man who created Scarred, but for kaiju. So if you have an Alien Mefilas on the field, you reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, and then put a hazard or invasion type kaiju from among them onto play that you can level up with. So the kind of play pattern here is you're going to play this guy, you're going to use its effect, and then you can level it up to 7 to get this guy's effect, which lets you give a battle opponent of one of your double or triple kaiju with type invasion or hazard a BP grade decrease. So very, very strong effect. So you can kind of use this effect to get some tricky plays and then level it up to make sure you win this lane or force a win in the other lane with the BP down. So we can already talk like a little. That's kind of like a little bit about the combos here. So if you have this, one of the like basic combos you can do from the beginning is you can draw cards, and then you can swap this out and draw more cards. So that's just an example of how you can do it. You can have this one. You can play cards. You're going to activate the double, reveal it. Okay, discard this one, play this one, draw a card for this effect, and then draw 2, put 1 on the bottom for that. So that's kind of how that works. And how it goes through, and then you can kind of set up for later. So from there, we have to decide how we want to utilize this deck. And even though this card likes to have doubles and this card likes to level up, I really like having options that are really strong as singles because it allows you to be more flexible with this card, bringing out powerful singles or just playing a card as a single and then being able to play other powerful effects anywhere. So the rest of our deck revolves around combining Alien Guts and 5 King together. So we have 8 total cards that can become 17,000. So as a refresher, 5 King is if you have 5 or more kaiju cards in your discard area with different names from 5 King, it becomes an EX BP grade, which is a 17 for a single card. And Alien Guts lets you exile 3 alien characters with different card names from the discard, and it becomes extra for the turn, but it's also a 17. So they do seem like they counteract a little bit, like you're exiling your names with Alien Guts, and you need different names for 5 King, which can get a little tricky. But having so many 17Ks basically means you can just like spam 17Ks in the late game, which is like once the deck gets set up, that's kind of what you want to do, and it does a decent job of doing that. So that is like the main game plan. You get Alien Mefilas set up, you start spamming 17Ks, swapping 17Ks wherever you need them, along with using your little tricks to catch your opponents off guard. But before we can get to the tricks, we have to finish the rest of the deck. Is how do we get enough aliens for alien guts? And then after that is how many we get to 5 king. So because alien guts and 5 king both rely on having a lot of cards in the discard area, of course, we've got to play Alien Bolton. This one being you can discard a card to draw one when you play it, and this one being a single or double, you can discard 3 from both players' decks to give him plus 1,000 for every 2 kaiju revealed in total. But mostly it's just for the discard. So once you get this one set up, you can start discarding like crazy. This, I would say, is like the key engine of the deck, and now we start to get into the tricks and kind of the stalling stuff. So next we have this Alien Metron. It's coming from BP07. What it does is you can reveal the top card of the opponent's deck, and then if it's an Ultra Hero, then you can tie this card. So this deck having a lot of setup and kind of getting slow to get going sometimes means that you are in some really precarious situations, like I would say especially turn 3s and turn 4s. Turn 4, I think you can kind of get there, but turn 3 can be really weak sometimes. And sometimes you just need like, oh, I forced a tie, I made it through the turn, and then I get to go. And then I get to go to the next turns where I can really kind of get my deck going. I've got the discards going, I've got Mefilas set up and whatnot. Because the longer the game goes and the more options you have for this, the better I think it works out for you. So it helps you stall. It's also an alien name. So for alien guts, typically you're going to want to remove Mefilas, a Mefilas, a Bolton, and then one of Metron or Alien Guts. So you have ways to pretty consistently get the Alien Guts off, especially once you've built up your discard pretty well. And now we get into the fun stuff. So we've got 2 Darklops 0. This card basically lets you discard a card and draw a card. So it's more copies of the Alien Bolton. Which is pretty important because you do need to get things set up. You need to find your Alien Mefilas, which doesn't always happen. So having some ways to discard cards from hand is very, very helpful. And then if you discard a Darklop 0, you can draw an extra card. But you don't always want to do that, which is why I decided to only play 2. So it's just part of getting through our deck a little bit more while having extra names. It's the same as with the Dark Mephisto. In this case, you just draw a card. I think it's actually better to have the discard because the discard helps you set up Alien Guts and 5 King. You don't always need the actual card in your hand. You need the cards in the discard. And then we'll get to our, I would say these are the 2 main tricks in the deck. Is the Promo Ella King. Is a single, you can choose one of your opponent's characters and they lose and cannot gain any BP grade ups for the turn. And then Gavadon is if your opponent has 3 or fewer cards in hand, then it nullifies all their BP plus effects. And if you have 3 or less cards in hand, it nullifies your BP minus effects. So that's another reason why you don't necessarily want to add cards to your hand, because you're looking to have Gavadon be active, and you can just kind of cancel out anything they're trying to do. So we have 2 of each, because I'd love to do more, but we need extra names for 5 King. And sometimes these are the effects I really want to see this effect, or if it goes well, I can play it more than once. So those are kind of the powerhouses. I'm gonna run out of space here. So maybe Mefilas we'll have to move you aside for now. We'll see you back in the mulligans and more combo section. The last bit is 2 King Joes. We have 1 5 and 1 6. This section is kind of like the take the lead section, right? If you will. So we have the take the lead section, which is a Gomorrah, a Spherosaurus, and 2 King Joes. So the King Joes means that if you have them both, you can make a 17 pretty easily, which is nice. But by themselves, the King Joe is a 10,000 versus anything when it comes into play, and a 12,000 versus an Ultra Hero. King Joe, usually you'll have a double invasion, which means it gets a BP grade up, and that will be a 13 by itself. You can level it up for a 17 if you need to be. Gomorrah gives us a BP grade increase for 1 turn for a 12, and then Spherosaurus gets a BP grade increase if you're against basic type. So between these, you can usually, if you have a nice setup, you can go for Mefilas, and then you can swap these in so that you have the scene. So like this deck really goes crazy when you have both Mefilas and the scene in play. So that's kind of the setup you're going for. And then our last card is another one of our spicy tech option is the if it came up with that game. Of course, if is a single or double. When this character's battle opponent revolves an activate effect, then you can make force if to win. So you can line it up against your opponent's important activates that they need to do to stay in the game, and just basically lock in a win. So that's the deck. It's a little crazy, it's a little spooky, but it's a lot of fun. I think in terms of variations, I think there's a pure like Mefilas Bolton version. I think that version is solid. It's good. It's fun to play. It's definitely more consistent than this version, but it also has kind of the issues of having like a weaker early game and maybe like pretty reliant on the scene, as well as like being really reliant on the discards because it's not like before where you had a gazillion Boltons, and so every mill was a Bolton, and so you could use the other card that like needs to exile 3 Boltons. It becomes much trickier to have like a full power setup that way. And then I think there's also a variation that's mostly focused on Alien Guts and that removes all the tricks here, or maybe you cut Alien Guts and do the 5 Kings. But the thing is, if you're going to play 5 King, you're going to play Alien Bolton, and because the deck is slow, you're probably going to play some amount of this Alien Metron, and then you might as well just play the Alien Guts, because you get Mefilas, Guts, Bolton, Metron is 4, and so then you kind of just need one more to go and play the 5 King. So it kind of ended up working out like that. So let's talk a little bit about the mulligans and maybe some combo setups that you can do. And some changes I might make, I don't know that I'll make them, is I might try to play 4 Darklops 0, and I'll explain that in the combo section. But definitely one of the weak points of this deck, if you watch the match video, if you see it, you go back and watch it, is having the scene is actually really important. And only having 12,000s isn't quite enough to really like force the situation on the lead lane all the time. So I think it would be worth trying out versions that can hit higher than 12 and 13 with a Mefilas swap. And that's where like if you don't go 5 King, then you can focus more on playing double 15Ks like Boltons and things like that. That more guarantee you getting the scene out. And once you have the scene out, you can play a little like you can be a little crazier. So let's see. I already kind of showed you guys the first combo, the super draw combo, which is where you use Mefilas to swap in Mefilas over and over again. Just gonna screw all this guys over. But it's important to know, and this is the reason why I would want to be able to have more Darklops 0, is because in a situation where you can go this is the easiest one. So one of the combo plays you can go for is you can play Darklops 0. Let's say discard a Gomorrah, so it's getting a little crazy. A little crazy over here. Then you can use Mefilas to swap it to an Alien Bolton, which then maybe you can discard a Spherosaurus. And then the next turn, if you play Bolton and 5 King, when you mill, you've already got 3 there. Or if you play, let's say, Dark Mephisto, then you've got this one, and you can swap it into 5 King, and you've got 4 in there, and you'll probably use this mill 3 to hit a Mefilas, which gives you the 5 King. So that kind of early play of being able to swap Boltons and Darklops 0 to add a bunch of discards actually helps you set up the 5 King pretty consistently. Even without having the scene in play. And so that's like why I would consider going higher on the Darklops. And this is why you have to like not always discard Darklops just to draw cards. Because if you discard Darklops to draw extra cards, and then you swap it into Bolton, now you have 2 Darklops, and you're going to miss the 5 King. you might miss out on the 5 King. Alternatively, if you don't have this one, but you just have a bunch of these level 5s, you can do like Darklops, discard Spherosaurus, swap to Bolton, discard Dark Mephisto, I guess, and then the next turn you can what is it? Yeah, you can play the Dark 0, we can discard a Gomora, and then we can swap the Bolton into a 17 there. So this one requires like 3 discarders, level 5 ones that discard, but it helps you get there. And so I think I might up that there. So that's like one of the combo plays you can do to set up 5 king. And then the rest of it is usually kind of tricky. Like a lot of times, so instead of doing something like this, I'll do one of these to let us draw cards. This is turn 2, of course. We can discard a card to start to figure out our hand, and then we'll swap into King Joe. And once we have King Joe or something like one of these like things that help us take lead, we can play this scene. And now we can play this scene, and with once the scene is out, like Alien Guts and 5 King are like super duper duper strong. And you know, once you kind of get set up with these guys, this is when I think like the deck really gets going, and why I really like this version is because say this one is maybe it's a losing lane or they're going to build it into a triple. Now that I have like really strong singles, I can play another 17, and then I can take this one out and say, yep, no BP plus or minus, or I can say, and there goes your there goes your BP grade up that you were using to hopefully try to win the game. Or if we have this set up, I can go for, okay, no BP grade up, and then, oh, now I have a 17. And if you don't have these strong 17s, you can't do the second part as easily, right? You can't say like, oh, I played a setup lane, or you know, maybe even like, oh, I need to draw cards. Play draw cards, and boom, now it's 17, and you're safe, or you're winning. You know, you're surviving one more turn. And once you get a bunch of 17Ks, it's actually really hard for other decks to keep up. But these like first turns can be really weak, especially if you don't have the scene. The only like anti stuff with these like really strong singles is that if you use a Mefilas game to boost here, this one can only activate on double or triple kaiju to BP grade down the opponent. So none of these are actual target or effects, which means you have to do this one, which is not so bad because you just like, oh, I get to win this lane, and hopefully the 17Ks do their job. So yeah, that's it. I think I talked myself into playing 2 more of these. I'll figure out how to squeeze them in. But that is the deck. That's the Alien Mefilas deck. It's a lot of fun. Definitely give it a try if you're looking to do some spooky plays with If, Gavadon, or Ella King. That's kind of like the name of the game for me. That's why I wanted to play this deck, and I think there's versions of the deck that you can play. I mean, you can do anything you want with this deck, but I really enjoyed this version. Just being able to place down a powerful 17K made a really big difference in like how well the deck was working. Because I did try versions where like I played 5 and 6 Ella King and 5 and 6 Gavadon, or 5 and 6 If, so that I could have the strong doubles if I needed to. But then there were situations where like I really need to do one swap, and I need it to boom and hit the ground running and really be really big, and I was missing that. So that's kind of where we're at. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I think there's maybe some updates when the new stuff comes out. There's a new Bemular box topper in for BP08. We'll see if we can squeeze that in there and see about playing a little bit more matches with this deck. Stay tuned for more matches, more decks, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.